Hi students, this video is to help you learn how to use the circuits area of Tinkercad and how to make different types of loop circuits, a series loop and parallel loops. So when you log into Tinkercad, remember that it normally brings you into the 3D designs area of Tinkercad where you can draw. What we want to do is go in this left menu and go over to this circuits area, which is a different area of Tinkercad. So I'm going to click circuits here on the left, and that'll bring that in. And then I'm going to click on create a new circuit, that green button there. Now, that'll bring up a blank new design. The very first thing you always want to do in Tinkercad when you open up a new design is you want to give it a name. I'm going to call this one practice. But if this is for an assignment, you want to look in the instructions for the assignment about what you're supposed to call your assignment. Okay, we've got a blank named design. So now it's time to start pulling in some components to wire up. Electrical components are just another name for the electrical parts. So we're going to scroll down here on the right and then drag a 1.5 volt battery into the circuit area. You could see there's a bunch of settings here. We're going to leave all of those alone, but it will be a lot easier to do the wiring if these two electrical leads, the positive and the negative area to attach wires, are pointing to the left. So with the AA battery highlighted, we're going to come up here to this button in the upper left, which is the rotation tool. So I can click on that a bunch of times until the battery is facing to the left. So that's all set to go. The next step here is to pull in a couple of DC motors. So I'm going to pull in a couple of these and we're going to wire it up in series. Series means in one big loop. Remember that we imagined this as three people holding hands. So we need to draw some wires right now. So the way you draw wires to connect is you first put the mouse on top of one of the leads you want to start the wire from. In this case, we're going to go from the positive here to the positive lead on the first DC motor. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm not dragging it. I just clicked once to start it, and then make sure I get on top. We get that little square lighting up when we get to our destination, and then we click again. And there we have a wire. If you mess up, you can highlight the wire and press delete on your keyboard. You can press this delete button here. You can press escape on the keyboard, or you can press undo to do the last thing. Any one of those will delete a wire. But again, to draw a wire, you go to where you start, make sure it lights up the square, and then go on top of where you want it to end, and you click a second time. Okay. Now we're going to finish up the wiring in this loop by clicking from here and connecting it to the next DC motor. And then we're going to finish the loop by coming back here to the battery. So this is one big circle. So we could test this out to see if it works by pressing the Start Simulation button up here. And you should notice that the motors are both turning. So that's good so far. But we're going to want to put a switch in the system to be able to turn it on or off. I need you to use a slide switch. So let's stop the simulation and go and find ourselves a slide switch. Now we need to make space for the slide switch. It needs to be in the loop. So there'll be 4 things in the loop. So we need to have this DC motor get disconnected from the battery here. So I'm going to highlight this wire right here and I'm going to delete it. Okay. And now I'm going to pull a slide switch into the middle of this. And we're going to want to wire up the slide switch. Now, the key for using a slide switch correctly is choosing one of the sides. You got to always use the middle and one of the sides if this is going to be an on-off. You cannot wire up the 2 outsides. You always have to use the middle. You could see it's called common. So I'm going to first click on this one and have it go to the left side. We'll make left on. And then I make sure to grab from the middle, not from the outside, but the middle, and click on there and go and finish the circle. So as you can see, this is one big circle, and on the slide switch, they're both on one side, in this case, the left side. So we can start the simulation. We could see these are both on, and then we can test the switch out and see that it turns both of them off, on and off. That is a series circuit. So that's how you do one of those. Now, we're going to pull in a second battery now, and we're going to do a parallel circuit. So I'm going to rotate that around like we did before. I'm going to pull in 2 DC motors, and this time we're going to wire up a separate loop for each motor. So for this one, I'm going to do here to here and here back to here. So it has its own loop, okay? And what's going to be different is we're going to have 2 wires coming off of this battery. So we're going to start from the positive one here and put a separate loop to this motor here. So this one will go back to negative. All right. So again, if you mess up, you can delete ones you have. But as you could see, we have a loop for this motor, and then the same loop, same kind of loop, but separate for this motor. So let's test that out, and they should both be running. Good. Now, if we want to add a switch in one of these loops, what you have to do is, just like before, you get rid of one of the wires, you pull in a slide switch, and you can finish that loop on its own. So this bottom loop has a switch. This top loop does not have a switch in my demo. So let's try that out. And if we operate this switch, you could see it turns this motor off, but this motor keeps running. So again, each one of these needs to operate separately. In your assignment, you're going to be adding in another switch to this loop right here. And you'll do that on your own. And then in the third one, you're going to make a loop of any other components. Components you could use include motors, hobby motors, vibration motors. What else would work here? You might be able to get an LED to work. But again, the motors will be good items to use. DC motors, hobby gear motors, or vibration motors. So hope this helps, and have some fun with it.